Welcome back to Unhinged Addiction and what it's like to actually move from opiates to heroin. I had the chance to speak with Recovery John. He is a TikTok influencer who talks a lot about sobriety on TikTok. And I reached out to him. I'm your host. My name is Eric Zink. I go by the Mr. Impulsive on TikTok and Instagram, or Eric B. Zink on Facebook or on YouTube. And in my podcast, I love to share other people's stories. I love to share my own stories just with the hope and help of sobriety and fighting through. I reached out to John because I liked his story. I love other addicts' story and to hear how others have gotten sober. There's no right or wrong way of getting sober. It's your way. And I think that the more that you talk to others who are in sobriety, you really start to realize that. Because for myself, when I was first getting sober, I was trying to follow like what is the right way to do it? Am I understanding this right? And again, you have to just find what works for you. And it's always a great reminder, I think, when you're talking to others that there isn't this right or wrong way. There isn't this one secret way. Some things work for others and maybe it doesn't for other people. And to hear other just stories and people getting sober and the inspiration behind it, that it does get better, I think is so worth it. I think John did an amazing job. He was really open, started to share about some childhood trauma and how that led him down the path. So it was really awesome to get to talk to him on this. If you guys haven't downloaded Sunflower Sober, by the way, this is your sign. Download Sunflower Sober on iOS and Google Play. It's an amazing app to track sobriety. You have 24-hour AI sponsor support. There's a great community there. There's doctors and therapists. There's a lot there to help you get sober and stay sober. And if you want more, go to ericbzink.com. But let me jump into my interview here with John and talking to him about his story on how he got sober from starting off with heroin and opiates and even turning over to alcohol. And now he's sober and kicking some ass. Well, John, I appreciate you doing this, brother. I followed your story a little bit, and your drugs of choice were alcohol and what else?
So mainly for 8 years, opiates.
Okay.
Started with pain pills, found my way to heroin, and then the last 2 years was like straight alcohol and coke.
Okay, so I always love this because I know you run into this. You have a good sized social media, and you do a lot with social media where people are always curious about like heroin, like curious about fentanyl, and I think almost people, if they are not educated at all, kind of think like one day we're sick and we wake up and we're like, dude, I'm gonna jab myself with a needle. It doesn't quite build that way. So how did it all begin getting hooked on opiates for you? How old were you?
That's a good question. I think it's the same for everyone. It's just kind of like timing of your age and the country and the people around you. So I was like a big athlete. My goal was always to be like a Yankee. My life revolved around baseball, God, church, like hated drugs and alcohol.
Uh-huh.
When I was 12, I was playing paintball with friends, and we had like a dad chaperoning with us, two dads. And one of the dad, long story short, fell in front of me and died instantly from like his fourth heart attack. And I was 12. So my idea of life completely changed that day. Is like everything's good, life is good, God is good, and what I think is good. And then I was like, wait, I don't trust life anymore or God. Like, why would that happen? And
Right.
like 2 years, like freshman year of high school, I ruptured my spleen, missed my whole baseball season. Like, I wouldn't say almost died, but spent a week in ICU bleeding internally. Like, very scary situation. Literally the next week, my throat closed due to mono, and I was on oxygen mask in the hospital for another week. Like, they weren't sure what was going on. So a lot of like traumatic things that took my faith away of life. And PTSD started, all that.
Oh
And
yeah.
it got bad. So fast forward, I got into the normal high school, like, hey, try a drink. I tried alcohol. Instantly, I was like, that's my solution. I feel good. But I was messy on it. I couldn't handle like a functioning alcoholic. So I knew like, got to find something else. I tried weed, mad boring. I would giggle or fall asleep. And then I'm 35. So '08 was the epidemic of opiates. So you can get them anywhere. Everyone had them. I started actually selling them because I knew my baseball career was tanking because I broke my leg in half. So I was like, I need money to like help people. And I got around the wrong kids, got a lot of connections. And one day they said, try it. And it was a line of Oxycontin. I knew alcohol worked inside. It numbed everything, but it would give me a lot of trouble. And I did the line, and bro, instantly it was just hooked, man. Hooked. I remember driving down the road still today and subconsciously had my first craving after using it once. And I was like, I should call and get more. And I remember being sick to my stomach. Like, where did that thought just come from?
Mm-hmm.
And I made the wrong call and never went back for 10 years.
It's funny because it's like, people think about peer pressure and you grow up and you're going through high school and they're telling you, all about drugs, and they're trying to educate people. And it's like you think like at that age, you know, like man, there's going to be people like around the corner offering me drugs, and you know, trying to convince me to get high. And nobody ever prepares you for what it's like just to be around kind of like the wrong people. They're cool. You're like, dude, we get along. And next thing you know, they're like, hey, you know, you kind of want to fit in. You want to do this? Fuck yeah, dude, I'm down. Fuck yeah. And you
Yeah.
just kind of suck yourself right into it, you know, not on purpose.
Yeah, that's what happened. I mean, I had a great group of friends, and I basically, with the alcohol, I'd get so angry, and I was battling so much anger and
So you were
anxiety.
angry drunk as a kid.
Oh yeah, I mean, even sober, I couldn't have a door on my hinges because I'd put my head through it if my dad said something I didn't like. And that's what I was battling, probably the fear of what I
Mm-hmm.
saw. You know, the fear of what was the next shoe to drop. It was like PTSD, but I didn't get the help I needed, and I didn't want the help, the therapy or whatever.
So as a kid, did you just not know what therapy really was, or like what really resisted you? And I'm curious on this. So when I was a kid, I'll just share with you my story real quick to see
Yeah.
how I can relate with you. Is you know, I went through a lot of shit also as a kid, but not quite to that extent. That's a lot of shit. But I learned really quick how to lie to therapists. And, you know, I didn't trust therapists. You're going to tell my parents, you know, so I never really got anything out of therapy other than I learned how to lie really good or manipulate. Because I learned if I could manipulate the therapist, they could manipulate my parents when they shared with them. So I'm like, all right, this is kind of cool. Like, I'm going to go to therapy and get the what the fuck I want.
Yeah.
So you were, I mean, did they get you into therapy right after you saw, you know, the dad die?
Kind of like, you know, I'm sure you were raised too, was like uh, just a mentality like guys don't show emotion. So like my
Mm-hmm.
dad was tough. I mean, even my family, I don't think my parents did it on purpose, but I never saw them fight. So it was almost like something wrong. I thought something being wrong was wrong, you know, like, no, 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 I don't need therapy. I'm fine. Don't worry. And, you know, the magnitude of it that night, I remember that my aunt called and she was like, yeah, he did die on site. And I could see in my parents' face the magnitude of the situation, just like the worry for me. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, no, I can't show, you know. So right away that the school offered counselors for me and everyone that was there. And I was like, no, I don't want this. I don't want to talk to some old lady I can't relate to about what I saw. And it's kind of like AA and NA, like, or whatever, what you and me do on social media. It's like you could relate to someone that's been through it. So they didn't put me in front of someone that's been through it. They put me in front of an old lady that didn't look like me, didn't say she'd been through it, and she was going to walk me through this. I just couldn't relate. And yeah, I mean, I got arrested at 17 fighting my dad. They gave me a therapist through court. I just like, I have nothing to say to you. I just shelled up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So it sounds like, I mean, a little bit home life was a little brutal.
I mean, because of me, yeah, it was peaches and cream growing up. I mean, sure, my dad was a little cranky, worked a lot of hours, but like my parents did everything they could for us. They taught us good morals. But once I got a teenager, my dad was in your face type of dude, and I just got sick of hearing it. And I had all that anger build up. So one day I just told him, you know, watch your mouth when you talk to me. And I won't say what exactly happened, but it didn't go well for the next few years. Yeah, it was really bad. Me and my mom butting heads. I fight my brother. Just anyone that said it was a control thing, not what I wanted to hear. You know,
Hmm.
had a problem with it, and they're going to hear about it. A teacher, a parent, anybody.
Hmm. No, and I think it's important to share stuff like that because I think a lot of people relate because you know everybody's like, oh, is alcohol? Is it genetics? Is it you know all this other stuff? You know, if my dad was an alcoholic, does that mean I'm an alcoholic? And I think there's you know parts of that you know that do play into it. But I also think that you know our childhood plays into it a lot. You know, finding that escape that kind of makes everything all right. You're like, shit, I like this. Like it's all fucking okay right now. You
Yeah,
know. So oxys kind of became your thing, huh?
yeah. I mean, probably to like 22. I mean, I did it every 80s every day. Sadly, not proud of it. Like, got into like selling and moving them and stuff.
Now here's the funny part. Did you ever so you know, I always meet people, I think everybody's done this at one point where you need to make money to support your habit, so you start selling the shit.
Yeah,
But you're not really making money from it because you're using the shit. You know,
yeah.
it's like this, you're never getting ahead.
It's the biggie, the 10 crack commandments. Don't get high on your own supply. Like,
Uh-huh.
went from making, I was 18, and I remember my parents, I had a high school sweetheart. I'd come home from pizza delivering. That was my front.
Hmm.
My dad like grew up in a rough life a little bit and stuff, so he wasn't stupid. And I would have
Right.
stacks, and he was like, "No 17-year-olds are making that delivering pizzas." I was like,
Right.
"Yeah, business is popping." And then I started using, and yeah, before you know it, you owe all the plugs money, and you know what I mean. What happens is you have so much, your tolerance goes up, and then now you are using your whole supply. So,
So how did that kind of start to crumble, and how did you move on from there with your addiction?
so it just got worse. I mean, they stopped making them where you could crush them, so I started doing Percocet. Said I would never do heroin. Then you start using so much when you're using $500 a day. I mean, who makes that much money as a young 20-year-old? So then you revert to heroin. Thankfully, never shot it up, but because I would snort it, it would make my lungs wheeze to where I could hardly even like walk far without like wheezing, coughing up stuff. And that became just like the whole cycle. I mean, I don't even need to walk it through. Anyone that knows, but just arrests, rehabs, relapses. You know, I'm 6'2". I weighed like 141 pounds, just a gray, always nodding out, ruining holidays. Yeah, and it just ruined all my relationships.
So how'd you convince yourself to do heroin? Because I mean, this is something that's super, I think, relatable to a lot of people. Because I think even anybody who's hooked on pills, if you're like a year into pills, you're still at that point where you're like, dude, I'm never going to do heroin, because we instantly kind of think, especially, your generation, you're shooting it up. That's how we think of it. We don't think of, chasing dragon, doing foils or whatever. You don't think of all these other things. So how did you convince yourself to do heroin for the first time? Because it's expensive. I mean, people will tell you, I'm sure you run into this because you work with the rehabs, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And so people are, I'm sure you get this all the time. Is it free? And
yeah,
it's, dude, it isn't free. How'd you find that $200 a day for your habit, man?
yeah.
That's
I love
like,
that, dude. Like, oh,
that's why
yeah,
that's my favorite with addicts, dude. We are like, you're trying to get sober, and like, if it's $5, that's $5 too much. But man, wait, I can get what for $200? That's a deal. I will find the 200.
that's why I laugh because like that's a lot of my videos are like educational, like yours or my story, but a lot of my lives I'm talking in my videos about like perspective. It's like
Uh-huh.
it's really a psychic change. Like I thought people in my comment like, "Oh, you're making money off addiction." Like you didn't say that to the plug. He was charging 500 a day. Like I can make you make $1 million. You get sober, you're gonna feel like you got $1 million. Like
Yeah.
to lose your life, you were paying 200 a day. So yeah, I mean, it's yeah, it's sad, you know. And even with when it comes to treatment centers and stuff, it's like it's a mental as a hospital. You know what I mean? If
Hmm.
you go to get cancer support, it's millions. I mean, it's
Hmm.
20,000 is not bad, but really your insurance is paying for it. Maybe you got to pay 1,000 to have your life back. I would pay that every time.
Well, even if it came out to like 30 grand out of pocket and they had a
Yeah,
payment plan, I'm gonna burn through 30 grand in a year, high
like
as
half a year.
fuck. And yeah, exactly, half a year. I'm risking that I'm not gonna live. And dude, if I'm sober for a year, I'm gonna make that back and then some.
Yeah,
But it's trying to break that whole mentality process, because the fear of getting sober, it's like, dude, my life's gonna suck. I don't know how to live fucking sober. I don't want to do, it's going to be lame. It's going to be like all this bullshit we come up with. And it's just, it blows my mind how we were like just fighting it and not realizing we were fighting it.
yeah, exactly. No, that's how I went to heroin. It was just like, I'll never do it. I'll never do it. And you get to a point where you're dope sick, and someone says, "Well, do you have $10?" When usually I'm spending 80 to feel good, and you risk it. You know, you're physically ill. So,
Uh-huh. So you just had a dealer that happened to have some black tar heroin or whatever on them, and
I
they're like,
mean, I was
hey.
one of my friends. I was just all my friends turned to heroin. I was like, I'm not doing that. I always worked, so I was like, I'll keep spending $300 a day or $60 a day, whatever I got to. And yeah, it just came to a point where dope sick had $10, and it was just normal. I mean, before it was fentanyl, it was just brown powdered heroin.
Mm-hmm.
And got my little envelope baggie and snorted it. And I remember I did only like a fourth of the bag, and that's what got you hooked. Is like I could do 5 perk 30s. I don't like to glamorize it, but to make people
No, it's
understand.
not glamorizing. I mean, it's the
Yeah,
reality of it.
why you turn to it is like it took me 5 perk 30s that cost $30 a pop, so that's $180. And for $10, I would do a quarter of a bag and feel rocked. So it was like, well, I got to do this now. And then it became to the point where that was right. I don't think we knew it was fentanyl, but people started dropping like flies, and none of us wanted to touch the pills because back then doing drugs was safe as long as you were an idiot. Like you knew you were doing 15 milligrams of Percocet and you knew your tolerance. Nothing was going to happen unless, maybe you had a brain injury and a heart attack, but like you weren't going to OD. You knew what you were doing. And then all of a sudden people started dropping and we were like, it's sad, but to say like the veteran drug addict, we're like, I'm not trying to play Russian roulette. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, and and that's the thing is it's like, people I just don't think they get how you get to that low point and you are kicking and you're just like you're fucking feeling like death and somebody kind of just offers something up and you're just like, fucking all right.
Yeah.
It's not it's one of those things where like you said, people be like, oh, you're glamorizing drugs and stuff because I get that a lot. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, I don't glamorize it, but I'll share with you the reality of it. Because yeah, it sounds like a fucking party.
Yeah.
And I don't give two shits if you think it is or not. But the person who's going, holy fuck, you get it, dude.
Yeah.
That's the ones that I love. And I love watching them recover because it's like, you don't think you're going to make that transition. I don't think anyone ever thinks you're going to make a transition from pills to heroin or pills to fentanyl because we're smarter than that. We're going to be different.
Yeah, exactly. Let me be better. I'm a cleaner addict. Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna be a better addict than everybody else. Watch, I won't get hooked like you did. I'm gonna
Yeah.
control it.
Yeah. No, I'll just drink wine. It's like, well, it doesn't make it better than what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
Also, I love your
So,
concept because you always have like the raw, and that's what it is. People can relate, and that's huge.
well, that's the thing is, it's like, what the relapses and stuff were like, or what you using was like. And I mean, I don't know how long it took you to get sober, but at 23, my ex-wife, I've been married a few times. I had to go to a lot of trauma therapy to understand how to have healthy relationships.
Yeah.
But my first ex-wife, she was like, well, you're an alcoholic, so I'm leaving you. I'm getting a divorce. And that was the first time I tried to get sober. And I was trying to get sober just to save my marriage. And that was at 23, and I didn't get sober until I was 36.
Hmm.
So, you kind of doing that whole cycle of like, hey, I'd be sober for 2 months and then be on one for fucking a year,
Yeah.
go back at it. So with you, I mean, you got onto heroin, and then where did your addiction progress after that?
So it just got worse and worse. The levels, the places, the trap houses, like it just got darker and darker.
Were your parents involved at all in this? Were you like reaching out to them at all, or were you just kind of like fuck you guys and like separating from them? Like how was your life itself too as this was going on?
So I mean, I always worked, but because of the drugs, I could never progress. So I always lived at home, and they welcomed me there, as long as I didn't cause shit or like they didn't. I mean, they probably knew I was using, but they didn't see me using. Like I acted normal.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love when people reach out like, "Oh, I'm functioning." Like, yeah, okay,
Mm-hmm.
what is that? But that's what I mean, I ran a call center of 1,800 people for a payment center for Comcast. I was a senior director, or senior manager. So, there everyone thought I was the man. I'd come home and my parents, it was just this unspoken sadness, like they weren't mean to me, but they didn't have much to say. I'd go in my room. I'd be gone most of the night because I'm running back and forth to the city up in here in the Northeast, like New York or Waterbury in Connecticut. Like, so I was like, and I'd pop in at 8 p.m. Hey, what's up? Have dinner. They go to bed. I sit in our living room, do it till I go to bed. And then it was just this awkward, even my whole family, they all knew, but no one would address it. And if they did, I would tell them, shut up. Like, I'm fine. So I went on for literally like my 20s all the way to 28. And then, yeah, it just kept going to the point where finally I had like, I mean, a lot of moments, but when it came to opiates, the first time I tried to get the first time had some sobriety, I was in in a city in a trap house, and there was a shooting next door. And when you feel just like, I always say that people don't get it, like just up to here, like the anxiety that like death is creeping in, like this is getting really bad, like you owe people money, or people overdose on fentanyl. Like I was like, I felt like I don't have a lot of time here. Something's got to give. And that day was a day that happened. I got in my car, went home, I was shaking. And it just happened to be the one day my mom started to drill me and was like, you need help. Just be honest with us. And it was the way she came at me. It was like no anger, just love that time. She was like, we got you. We'll figure this out. We'll call your insurance. We'll find you a rehab. She was just very like, I felt comfortable asking, and I broke down, started crying. And that was, we found a rehab and a detox. And that was like the beginning of my taking it. I've already been to a few rehabs, tried subs, everything else, but this was like, okay, this needs to end,
So what made this rehab different than the other ones?
Mainly, it was a little too big for my liking, but it was very NA, like 12-step based. It was very higher power based. It was very let's fix the inside. I went to a few in Florida, Connecticut that were just kind of like a hotel, like you see your therapist twice while you're there for a month. They give you some meds. You find some more dealers while you're in there. It
Yeah.
was like the most healing thing. And this was like a great community. They were big on therapy. They were big on, you had a 12-step coach. You got to choose AA or NA. And it was just more personalized. Even though it was big, it wasn't. I work somewhere now that's more personalized, but they really tried to fix you as an individual, start to heal. And the other half was I was just ready. I was just like, I don't have a lot of time left. All my friends are dropping like flies. Like I got to figure something out.
So then you got sober and you stayed sober, right?
For 7 months, I got out, did the steps. Whole life got better. Never did. That was 2018. I never did. I haven't done opiates since.
Okay, good. That's
But then,
awesome.
like an addict, I was young, in shape, single. I was like, well, I could probably drink. I got a whole life to live. I'm young, and 28 is not young. I mean, it is, but when you want to like use it as an excuse to drink.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I relapsed and literally moved to Yonkers, New York, by the Bronx, and drank and did coke for like every day for a year.
So how did that progress from just you were sober to drinking, then to drinking and doing coke? It's kind of a
So
progression there.
it's a quick one. Well, I mean, like, so in between that, I relapsed. I had the 7 months. I think I relapsed once, and then I spent about a year or two bouncing. Like 30 days clean, hitting meetings, doing great. And then one night, a girl would ask me out, and I'd go relapse. Okay, I got to go back to meetings. I got to do this, but like I wasn't doing the steps. I wasn't working my sponsor. I wasn't praying. I wasn't working out. I wasn't like doing the work. I was just showing up. And then I took it seriously, and the 7 months happened. It all got good, and then yeah, I mean, it happened like that. I mean, it was I always before that did some drinking and coke, but I'd been clean for a while, and went out with a friend. Said, I think I could have a few. I got 30 days clean. I'm feeling pretty good. I put some muscles on. Like I'm pure, and I just got absolutely obliterated. I took my dad's car. I thought it was mine. Crashed in the garage. Poured coke and Crevassier all on his car. And girls, and then I was so embarrassed. Instead of doing the right thing, that's what I did. I packed up, left their house because first time my dad wasn't mad. He was literally just sad. He's like, I have nothing to say, man, because I'd built them up for 7 months. I'd made amends, and it was heartbreaking to me. So I said, you know what, dude, you got to get out of the house till you figure it out. So I went and thought it was a good idea to bartend in the city, and that just became coke and alcohol till 4 a.m. almost every night. There's sometimes I would try doing it on my own down there. Like I go running and I'd stay sober for a week, and then again, you think you're cured and you got $300 in your pocket. I'll have a drink, give me a drink. And then then it just went on until I was just so beat up that I don't know. I woke up hungover one morning and just really sometimes I really get good at reflecting. Not always, but sometimes. And I was like, dude, you're failing. What worked? You had 7 months. And I broke it down simple for myself. And I moved back home and just took things simple again. Got to steps, focused on my fitness, my mental health, my sobriety, and surprise, surprise, like my whole life got better. And now, March 3rd, 2019 was the last time I used. So we're going on 7 years.
That's awesome. It's it's not easy, and it's amazing also even how like women or men, whatever you are, dating and stuff can really jack somebody's sobriety out.
Yeah.
You just it's cliche and there's stigma around it and people talk about it, but it's true. It's like a lot of people don't own that sobriety. Like when I was single, after my divorce back in like 2020, I was really just blunt. I'm older and shit though, but I was like, dude, I don't drink. Wouldn't tell people that up front, but we'd go meet up somewhere. I'd get iced tea and they'd be like, are you gonna have a drink? I'm like, no, I don't drink. Not my thing. It's you kind of just own it, but it's hard. It's weird, dude. It's like, do I tell them I'm an alcoholic, or do I just gotta like hide this under the radar a little bit?
Yeah. Now I'm very honest. I mean, people ask me all the time,
Good.
do you go to all these places? And I think that's what all my relapses were. Everyone knew I got off heroin and opiates, but people aren't educated. Like my friends that drink aren't addicts. So they were like, well, good job. Let's have a drink,
Right.
And they had no idea about addiction. So, and some of them still today do like, dude, I feel terrible. Like I shouldn't have put you in that position. And I'm like, no, one, you didn't know, and two, I should have articulated, and made a boundary that, like, just so you know, I'm an addict and alcoholic, so I can't drink. And once I started doing that, um, it set a boundary where I could go to a bar and feel comfortable because people know. No one. I live in a smaller town by the city, but like people know I don't drink, so I'm an addict. They're not going to offer me something. People, most 90% of people respect that.
Right. And if they
Yeah.
don't respect it, you don't need them in your life.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's people cut themselves out really quick. So,
Yeah.
so you got sober. So what started working for you to get sober this time, different than the time before?
Really doing the works. I mean, like for me, it's different for everyone, but like 12 steps saved my life. Like actually doing work on myself, looking at things, it changed my psyche and my perspective that I thought everyone else was the problem. I was like, why does my life suck? And then I wrote my life down and looked at it with a mentor and a sponsor and was like, well, 90% of these problems are because I drink, lie, cheat, fight. So if I just don't do that, my life would be pretty good. And it opened my mind to a lot. And I started to wonder, what if I started to like pray, work on my faith. Fitness is huge for me, having like a routine and working on myself and getting like my ADHD energy and anger out, meditating, and came up with
So,
kind of, go ahead.
so what helped you with the anger? Because I know that is common for a lot of people. What helped you the most with anger struggles?
A mix of like what I call a spiritual bank account. So it's like I called my sponsor 6 months sober, and I was like, "This sucks, bro. Like I don't want this. Is so boring. I'm so angry." And he was like, "Well, what did you do today?" And I was like, "I woke up. I had Pop Tart. I Snapchat this girl. I played Call of Duty." And he just started laughing at me, and I was like, well, "What the fuck are you laughing at?" And I was like, "I
Right.
just said I want to drink." And he was like, "You do that and you expect to like have peace inside?" He's like, so he explained to me what we call a spiritual bank account now. That's like you manage your bank account with money. Like I spent too much. I need to replace some. I need to work more. He's like, in the same way, your spiritual wellness, happiness, faith, whatever you want to call it, mental health. He's like, you manage that. Like if you're at, everyone's at zero or negative when they wake up. We got fears, death, bills. He's like, you pray, that's $10 in your account. You meditate, that's 50. You work out, that's 50. You go to a meeting, that's 50. Whatever works for you. And doing that, I started to just feel such peace and uh, energy and focus. Like it really took care of a lot for me. And I can see when I don't do that, even in sobriety, I can get racing thoughts, my ADD, my anger, like so between that and then working a program and things like the 12 steps say, like I ceased fighting, all I did was want to like control and fight everything, and today I try to allow God to flow my life, and still a lot I don't agree with in my life. I would make it different, but it's finding that piece of like, is what it is.
Yeah, no, it's hard to learn the acceptance. And
Yeah.
it's also hard to be comfortable being upset or frustrated or even angry and going, it's okay to feel this emotion.
Hmm.
It's not maybe okay to take it out on somebody, but to feel it, okay, why do I feel it? What can I do maybe to help myself? And like like I used to run from my fucking feelings. That's what would drive me, to use. It would just numb it all. It was like the perfect cure. And you start to become okay with that and go, okay, well, what can I work on to be a better person? So I would definitely respect that. The
Yeah.
and so now what have you done with your life to just have a good life now all of a sudden?
So it was really just that. I started to do like electrical work. I always like bartended. My life was simple. I didn't know where to go in life. I had no wife, no real career degree. I was working on electrical. And then during COVID, I started step 12 is to help other people. And I was like, all right, cool. And then COVID happened, the world shut down. So I was like, I was speaking in detoxes. I was on fire. I was just like sponsoring people, running meetings. And I was like, nah, I can't help people. And then, in 1 week, three of my friends OD'd all in like a 3-day period. And one was my childhood best friend. And called my sponsor again. And I was like, dude, I'm riddled with grief. Like, this is too soon. I was only a year sober. Um, and he was like, help people. So I was like, well, I'm stuck at home. I prayed on it, went for a run. And God just threw in my heart at that time. And that was before it was influencers or content creators. It was mid COVID. That stuff was just starting, TikTok. And it was like, oh, post on social media. All three of those stories were ones that were some of the greatest people I knew, but were probably afraid to admit they were an addict. And
Mhm.
they've gotten help. They've been to rehab, but they wouldn't fully commit to either like 12 steps or getting off of subs or anything. They always had to, or stop drinking fully. They always had to hold on to just one part of their addiction. And it took them all out. So I was like, they're probably just afraid to walk around and say, I'm an addict, I'm sober, I don't drink or whatever.
Mhm.
So I started posting online. I called it Get Lifted mentally, spiritually, physically. And I just
Right.
shared my story of my spiritual bank account and getting sober. And I was like, hopefully I'll help one person. And the first post took off, and there was like teachers in my town hitting me up, kids from my basketball team. And so that was with like 200 followers on Instagram and only Facebook, no TikTok. And so I just started doing these motivation Mondays, before and after pictures, like picture of me cracked out with my shirt off and a picture of me flexing, healthy and sober. And I would write a story about how I got sober. And yeah, fast forward, I mean, a girl I was dating was a couple years younger, pushed me to get on TikTok, and like that reach turned into like 90 million a year or something. And Addicts Truth podcast, writing a #1 sobriety book, and it just unfolded from there.
That's awesome. And it's cool how it happens sometimes that way. I always make fun now as I see people get sober, and apparently somewhere in the big book or wherever they're getting sober says in the first 30 days you need to do a TikTok, and you need to do live streams and help people get sober, and you need to start a podcast.
Yeah.
I always kind
They're
of
all
find that a little interesting now. I'm all for people sharing, but it's like
yeah.
within reason, and
Yeah. Scary.
it's one of those that it is, and it's also, I mean, I don't know how it's ever affected you. I mean, I was affected by it, but the dopamine hits you get from social media and how that can rope you in. I mean, we're addicts and we are so focused on our substances and this and being sober, but the next thing you know, you're just, how many views did I get? Oh man, that one didn't go right, and we're getting this, a little bit depressed. Fuck, I got to do a better one, and and next
Yeah.
thing you know, you realize you're like, fuck, dude, I'm like literally living for a fucking screen all of a sudden. Like this is whacked.
Yeah.
And that's something that I don't think a lot of people are kind of prepared for.
No, I mean, that's I tell people all the time, do you? That's amazing. If I can help you in your platform, but really consider the things that come along with it. And if you want that, because I mean, right now, this last year, a big thing has just been getting back to the basics. I don't care if I had to let go, whatever happens with my social media. I do this to help get back to why do I really do it? Help people. Cause yeah, you start to get like, well, that didn't have a lot of views, or how many people reached out for help. Did I help someone get in rehab? Like, and that's not, I got away from that whole spiritual bank account. So
Mm-hmm.
recently it's been me first, and then, okay, I'll make a video or something. Cause that's how I started this. But yeah, I mean, it's scary. Not to say that like even someone 30 days doesn't know more than me, but to be honest, I didn't know anything at 30 days. At 90 days, I didn't know what the heck. And there's people with like 60 days on there that are like, here's what you have to do if you struggle with this. And I'm like, oh God, like, I don't even know if I listened to me at 6 years. Like, and then the scary thing about that is like, that's the good thing, is that we can revert to what really got us sober. For me,
Mm-hmm.
it's like my program, my faith. If you build your program on TikTok and views, which I've had a conversation with a couple big
Mm-hmm.
creators that are less than a year, who, when they talked about breaking down TikTok, they almost had breakdowns. And I'm like, well,
Mm-hmm.
#1, you're sober. You got to remember that's your
Right.
blessing. But they're basing their sobriety on TikTok, and that's scary.
No, it is. It's one of those that social media can go away at any time. The views can shut down at any time. It can all go away at any time. And if that is what you're relying on for your social or for your sobriety, you are going to fail.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how much people really kind of dig into that stuff. And you can't tell anybody any different. They're going to do what they want to do, and fine, go do. But just like with you, I mean, 2 years into my sobriety, I was sober for 2 years. I was going to A meetings and stuff, and Mark would stand up and he'd be like, I'm 90 days sober. My life's fucking amazing. I'd be sitting there like, fuck you, dude. Like, I'm 2 years sober. I fucking hate it. I'm angry. I'm just, I've done the fucking steps and just still angry, and didn't realize I needed a lot of therapy and a lot of other shit. And our growth phases are also different. And that's the thing that, you know, addicts are a little fragile at those moments sometimes. And to think that there's only one way, or this is going to save me. Don't
Yeah.
quite work that way.
But,
Um, no, I love how your take is on it, and that's why I love talking to others because it's like everybody's story to sobriety is a little bit different. It's all the same, but it is different,
Mhm.
and we all
No,
latch on to different things. And I mean, that's it's finding your path and what works for you. So
yeah.
where do you see it all going for you now? Now that you wrote a book, you have social media, you work with like you got it going. You have your own podcast.
Yeah.
What do you see happening here in the next year? What's your goal for the next year with all this?
So in my 1 year goal or 2 year goal, it's really to be. So I work as outreach and business development for actually like my two mentors, like two guys that I really look up to in sobriety and business. We have California Wellness and Hope Restored out of California. They're more only 6 bed personalized care. So the owner and me like to do some research. So he went to 44 rehabs in his addiction, and I've been to like above 7
Hmm.
different ones. So I really want to be I work, but I'm working to be a owner and have say and kind of the help people get, because like I said, I've been to places that just give you food on a tray and ship you home in 30 days. And it's like, you might as well just not go. So I want to take a part in actually like having a program I help design, and be a part of that help. And the one thing I love social media, it's so cool, but I'm sure you can relate. It's not as fulfilling as like in person helping people, like when you're there and have a conversation or speak to a school or you're in a rehab talking to people. And you and me, like you too, like your following is massive. Like we have no idea how many people we help, and that's great. We don't need to for our ego, but there is something that like keeps that fire lit when you're part of like seeing it. So hopefully I could be in that part and have a place of my own as well. We have an amazing. I mean, I believe in exactly what we have. It's the same I would set up if not partner with them, but and then hopefully be financially free more, where I could just offer more of my time for free, like go speak at schools for free or stuff like that. But just to give back more in person, and hopefully at some point, I'm trying to learn the dating game, but get a wife and some kids and build my own life out. But that's messy enough.
It's funny the biggest thing I regret when it came to I don't really regret I've learned it now, but the thing I wish I would have known way sooner was learning about attachment styles,
Mm,
and how attachment styles affect addiction and how attachment styles affect relationships. Because it turned out I was very anxious attachment style, and emotionally regulating through drugs was really easy, especially if
it was.
no one else was there to help regulate me. But
Mm,
I'd look into it. You'd be surprised with that. But no, it's like you want to have a family, you want to progress in life and have that.
yeah,
Totally
exactly.
get it. Totally get
Yeah,
it.
cool. Because I could say I'm finally there. Like I didn't, because everything I went through and getting sober young, like I didn't have anything to offer anyone. I had a lot of
Hmm.
problems, not any finances, any good perspectives. So I could be the guy that, I'm still work in progress, but it's like I could be that, and I'm getting there. So yeah, I mean, just keep going, keep helping people, meeting amazing people like you, and just trying to spread the word to help people.
That's rad, dude. And I love how you put that because it is true. It's I don't think anything's as fulfilling as just sitting next to somebody even and just talking to them. It's amazing how you could gain 10,000 followers overnight. It doesn't matter, but sitting next just to somebody that you don't know, sharing a story, relating,
Mm,
it's such a better feeling,
yeah,
you know. Well, I appreciate you doing this with me, John. I love it. I will make sure I tag your stuff all down below. And dude,
absolutely.
just keep on doing you, brother. I love what you're about.
You too, man. I appreciate it. I'm always there for the journey. We'll have to connect, whether I come to you or you come out here. We'll get together sometime.
Stop the recording.